Dale Vexton floated in his observation chamber high above Earth, watching the blue planet spin slowly below him, the same way as people have been watching for over 400 years now, his 6 eyes tracking the movements of clouds and storms. Across the surface, while his mind processed the endless streams of data flowing through his neural implants, the Zephyrian research vessel hung invisible in space, thanks to their advanced cloaking technology that bent light around their massive ship, making it appear like empty space to any primitive sensors the humans might point toward the stars. Though the humans were still decades away from developing anything that could detect their presence anyway, according to all their models and predictions, Vexdan had dedicated his entire adult life to studying these strange bipedal creatures that called themselves humans, and he found them endlessly fascinating in ways that other species his people had cataloged never were. Most alien races followed predictable patterns of development that could be mapped and understood with mathematical precision, but humans seemed to delight in confounding every model. The Zephyrians created the research station contained over 3 centuries of accumulated data about human civilization stored in crystalline memory banks that stretched through multiple decks of their ship. Every war and peace treaty and technological breakthrough carefully documented by generations of Zephyrian scientists who had passed the observation duty from mentor to student in an unbroken chain of scholarly dedication. Commander Zelkith often visited the observation deck to discuss their findings with Vexdan, and today was no different as the tall gray alien materialized beside him with the soft shimmer that marked their teleportation technology. His 4 arms crossed in a gesture that indicated mild curiosity mixed with professional interest. Humans had just finished what they called their Second World War and were now entering a period of rapid technological development that had the entire research team buzzing with excitement. Their primitive rockets were beginning to reach beyond their atmosphere, and their electronic devices were becoming more sophisticated with each passing year. Vexton pulled up a holographic display that showed human population centers across the Pasta planet with data streams indicating everything from energy consumption to communication patterns. The complexity of human society never ceased to amaze him. Even after all these years of careful study and analysis, the Zephyrians had achieved interstellar travel over 10,000 years ago when their civilization was already ancient and stable. Their technological progress had been steady and methodical, following logical steps that any advanced species would naturally take given enough time and resources, but humans seemed to make impossible leaps forward in sudden bursts of creativity. Commander Zolkis studied the data projections with interest, noting how human technology was advancing faster than their models predicted. Their electronic computers had appeared centuries ahead of schedule, and their nuclear weapons had been developed in a remarkably short time span that would have taken most species much longer to achieve. The Zephyrian Empire had studied dozens of developing civilizations across the galaxy, and they had refined their observation protocols over millennia of careful research. They knew exactly how long it should take a species to develop various technologies, and humans were consistently breaking those established patterns in ways that defied explanation. Dr. Vex then highlighted several data points that showed human innovation in medicine and engineering progressing at rates that seemed almost impossible given their limited resources and relatively short lifespans. Where other species took careful, measured steps, humans seemed to throw themselves at problems with reckless determination until they found solutions. Observation protocols require complete non-interference with developing civilizations to preserve the integrity of their research data. The Zephyrians took great pride in their scientific methodology and would never dream of contaminating their studies by making contact before a species had achieved basic interstellar capability on their own. Commander Zolkith noted that according to their current projections, humans would require at least another 500 years to develop the fundamental technologies needed for interstellar travel. Their mathematics and physics were still too primitive, and their materials science lagged far behind what would be needed for true space exploration. Research vessel carried a crew of over 200 scientists and support staff, all dedicated to understanding human civilization in every possible detail. They had linguists studying every human language and anthropologists mapping every cultural variation and psychologists analyzing behavior patterns across different populations and time periods. Dear Vex then often wondered what it would be like to actually meet a human face to face, instead of just observing them from a distance. But such thoughts were purely academic, since the observation protocol strictly forbade any direct contact until humans had proven themselves capable of interstellar travel and diplomatic relations. The Zephyrians considered themselves the galaxy's premier experts on developing civilizations, and their research on humanity would eventually become part of the great library of knowledge that guided their empire's policies toward younger species. Every observation and measurement contributed to their understanding of how intelligence evolved and spread across the stars. As the day cycle ended on the research vessel, Dr. Vexen filed his daily reports and settled into his rest chamber, confident that tomorrow would bring more fascinating data about these remarkable humans, who continued to surprise him with their unpredictable creativity and stubborn determination to overcome every obstacle in their path. Captain Jake Morrison was running his morning diagnostics on the UES Discovery when the communication array started screaming with alerts that made his coffee cup rattle against the metal deck plating. The deep space exploration vessel had been conducting routine surveys near Mars when something that definitely was not supposed to be there started broadcasting on frequencies that human technology had never encountered before. Bridge erupted into controlled chaos as his crew scrambled to identify the source of the strange signals that seemed to be coming from empty space, somewhere between Mars and the asteroid belt. Communications officer Ryan Kelly worked frantically at his station, trying to decode the alien transmission, while Chief Engineer Lisa Rodriguez ran diagnostics to make sure their equipment was not malfunctioning. Morrison had spent 15 years in the military before joining the deep space exploration program, and his instincts told him this was either the discovery of the century or the beginning of something very dangerous. Possibly both at the same time, as he watched the impossible readings scroll across his command displays. Dr. Patricia Shaw rushed onto the bridge, carrying her portable analysis equipment, and immediately began setting up additional sensors to study the mysterious signals. Her background in xenobiology had prepared her for the theoretical possibility of alien contact, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of actually receiving transmissions from another species. The signal source suddenly became visible as something massive shimmered into existence, like a mirage clearing to reveal a sleek alien vessel that dwarfed their own ship. The unknown craft appeared to be badly damaged, with strange energy discharges flickering along its hull and sections that looked like they had been torn apart by some internal explosion. Captain Morrison made the decision to approach the alien vessel despite the obvious risks, because the transmission patterns suggested a distress call, and his training demanded that he respond to any ship in danger regardless of its origin. He ordered his crew to battle stations as a precaution while simultaneously preparing to offer assistance. Alien ship was unlike anything human engineers had ever imagined, with flowing organic curves that seemed to grow rather than being built, and a hull material that appeared to shift colors in response to the energy patterns running through it. But the damage was obvious, even to human eyes, with gaping holes and twisted metal that spoke of a catastrophic system failure. Ryan Kelly managed to establish basic communication using mathematical concepts and simple images to convey peaceful intentions. The response came back in heavily accented but recognizable English that shocked everyone on the bridge, because it meant these aliens had been studying human languages for a very long time. Captain Mordes of the Zephyrian scout vessel appeared on their main view screen, looking remarkably similar to classic depictions of gray aliens from human mythology. Tall and thin, with large eyes and pale skin that seemed to glow with its own inner light. His expression conveyed both desperation and barely concealed arrogance. Zephyrian captain explained that his ship had suffered a cascade failure in their quantum drive systems, leaving them stranded far from their home base. He reluctantly admitted that they needed human assistance to repair their vessel while making it clear that he considered this situation deeply embarrassing for his advance. Civilization Dr. Shaw immediately began asking questions about Zephyrian technology and biology while Lisa Rodriguez requested permission to examine their damaged systems. But Captain Mordes insisted on maintaining strict protocols about what information could be shared with what he clearly considered a primitive species. Morrison felt his temper rising as the alien captain continued to speak about humans like they were interesting laboratory specimens rather than fellow intelligent beings. The revelation that his species had been watching Earth for centuries without making contact struck him as both invasive and condescending. The negotiation continued for hours as the Zephyrians struggled with their pride and their desperate need for assistance. They had never imagined finding themselves in a position where they needed help from the very species they had been studying like animals in a zoo for over 400 years. Captain Mordes finally agreed to limited cooperation in exchange for human technical assistance, but he made it clear that any sharing of advanced technology would be strictly controlled to prevent human civilization from advancing too quickly. His attitude suggested that he still believed Zephyrians were inherently superior, despite their current predicament. Lisa Rodriguez began working with the Zephyrian engineering staff to understand their quantum drive systems while secretly scanning every component she could access with portable sensors. Her natural curiosity and years of experience reverse engineering alien technology drove her to learn everything possible about their advanced systems. Dr. Shaw engaged the Zephyrian scientists in seemingly innocent conversations about their history and culture, while Ryan Kelly recorded every word and analyzed the linguistic patterns that revealed far more about their civilization than they intended to share. The humans worked together with the kind of coordinated efficiency that had made their species successful. The repair work proceeded slowly as the pumoni is the Khaleesi. Zephyrians insisted on maintaining security protocols even while depending on human assistance. They had no idea that every conversation and every technical procedure was being carefully documented and analyzed by their supposed primitive rescuers. Captain Morrison watched his crew work with growing pride as they demonstrated the kind of adaptability and ingenuity that had carried humanity from caves to the stars in just a few thousand years. While the Zephyrians had spent millennia studying humans, they had completely failed to understand what made them truly dangerous. Within 3 days, the human crew had not only helped repair the alien vessel, but had also gathered more actionable intelligence about Zephyrian technology and society than the aliens had collected about human strategic capabilities during their entire 4 centuries of observation. The students had become the teachers without the Zephyrians even realizing what had happened. Dr. Patricia Shaw convinced Captain Morrison to continue offering assistance even after learning about the centuries of unwanted observation because she understood that this represented humanity's first chance to learn from an advanced alien civilization. Her scientific curiosity outweighed her anger at being treated like a laboratory specimen for so long. Zephyrians had reluctantly accepted human help, but they maintained strict protocols about technology sharing and insisted on supervising every interaction between their crew and the human engineers. Captain Mordes posted guards at critical system access points and demanded that all conversations be monitored to prevent unauthorized information transfer. Lisa Rodriguez had other plans, and her years of experience in reverse engineering complex systems gave her advantages that the aliens never suspected. While officially helping repair their quantum drive, she used every opportunity to scan and analyze components with portable devices that the Zephyrians dismissed as primitive human tools. Alien engineering section buzzed with activity as both species worked together on the damaged systems. The Zephyrians explaining basic operational procedures while carefully avoiding any discussion of underlying principles or advanced theoretical concepts that might accelerate human technological development. Rodriguez discovered that Zephyrian technology operated on fundamentally different principles than human engineering, with quantum field manipulators that could alter the basic properties of matter and energy systems that drew power directly from the fabric of space. itself she memorized every detail she could observe and made detailed recordings using equipment disguised as standard human repair tools. Her natural talent for understanding complex systems allowed her to grasp the basic principles behind alien technology that had taken the Zephyrians thousands of years to develop. Dr. Shaw engaged Dr. Vextan in lengthy discussions about Zephyrian history and scientific methodology while appearing to be simply making friendly conversation with their rescuers. Her background in xenobiology had taught her how to extract information without seeming threatening or overly curious. The Zephyrian scientist was eager to discuss his centuries of research on human civilization, and he inadvertently revealed details about their observation methods and technological capabilities that would have been classified under normal circumstances. His pride in his work made him talkative in ways his security protocols should have prevented. Ryan Kelly recorded every conversation and ran linguistic analysis programs that identified patterns in Zephyrian speech that revealed the structure of their language and the concepts that shaped their thinking. His communication expertise allowed him to understand far more than the aliens realized they were sharing. The human crew worked with the kind of coordinated efficiency that had made their species successful throughout history, each member contributing their unique skills while sharing information freely among themselves, in direct contrast to the rigid, hierarchical approach favored by their alien guest. Captain Morrison observed the exchange with growing fascination as he watched his crew demonstrate the collaborative problem-solving that characterized human civilization at its best. While the Zephyrians followed established procedures, his people were constantly improvising and adapting to new challenges. Repair work provided perfect cover for intelligence gathering, as Rodriguez gained access to quantum drive components that revealed the theoretical principles behind faster-than-light travel. She discovered that the Zephyrian approach was elegant, but overly complex compared to what human engineering might achieve with the same basic concepts. Dr. Shaw learned about Zephyrian social structure and scientific methodology through casual conversations that revealed how their rigid hierarchical societies stifled the kind of creative innovation that drove human progress. Their respect for authority and tradition prevented the kind of revolutionary thinking that characterized human breakthroughs. Zephyrians completely underestimated human pattern recognition abilities and the speed with which humans could assimilate new information. They assumed that primitive brains would require centuries to understand concepts that their advanced minds had developed over millennia of careful research. Vexton proudly explained how his people had cataloged dozens of developing civilizations across the galaxy and had refined their observation techniques over thousands of years. He had no idea that he was providing Shaw with detailed intelligence about Zephyrian capabilities and strategic interests throughout their region of space. Alien security officers focused on preventing unauthorized access to their most sensitive systems while completely missing the fact that casual conversations were revealing far more valuable intelligence than any technical manual could provide. They protected their hardware while inadvertently sharing their most important software. Rodriguez made breakthrough discoveries about energy field manipulation and quantum mechanics that would revolutionize human technology once she could share her findings with Earth-based research teams. The basic principles she observed during the repair work contained the keys to advancing human civilization by centuries in just a few years. Kelly identified linguistic patterns that reveal how Zephyrian society organized information and made decisions. Understanding their communication structure would give human diplomats enormous advantages in future negotiations and help predict their responses to various scenarios. The 3-day repair mission became an intensive intelligence gathering operation that neither side had planned, but only one side recognized. The humans collected actionable data about advanced alien technology, while their hosts remained focused on maintaining security protocols that were already obsolete. Captain Morrison realized that his crew had accomplished something unprecedented in the history of first contact situations. Instead of being overwhelmed by superior alien technology, they had turned the encounter into a learning opportunity that would benefit all of Humanity, the Zephyrians prepared to depart completely unaware that they had just provided humanity with the foundation for a technological revolution that would transform human civilization and fundamentally alter the balance of power between the species in ways that neither side could have predicted as the alien vessel powered up its repaired systems and prepared to leave. Captain Morrison smiled, knowing that his small crew had just changed the course of human history through curiosity, determination, and the kind of collaborative ingenuity that made their species truly formidable opponents. Dr. Amanda Foster received the encrypted data package from the Discovery crew and immediately understood that everything had changed for humanity. The director of the Human Technology Integration Project had spent years preparing for the theoretical possibility of alien contact, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of actual alien technology specifications and cultural intelligence. Within hours of receiving the transmission, Foster had assembled emergency response teams from research facilities across Earth, bringing together the brightest minds from every field of human knowledge. Unlike the careful hierarchical approach that characterized Zephyrian research, she organized her teams to attack the problems from multiple angles. Simultaneously, engineer Carlos Mendez led the quantum drive analysis team working around the clock to understand the fundamental principles behind faster-than-light travel. His background in theoretical physics and practical engineering gave him the perfect combination of skills needed to translate alien concepts into human technology. Quantum drive specifications that Rodriguez had secretly recorded revealed that the Zephyrians use incredibly complex field equations to manipulate space-time, but Mendez quickly realized that human mathematics could achieve the same results, using much simpler approaches that were actually more efficient than the alien methods. Dr. Helen Chang assembled a team of physicists to study Zephyrian energy systems and discovered that they were drawing power from quantum fluctuations in the vacuum of space itself. The aliens had developed this technology over thousands of years through careful incremental improvements, but Chang saw ways to optimize their designs immediately. Computer scientist Alex Johnson worked with the linguistic data that Kelly had collected, and within days had cracked the basic structure of Zephyrian programming languages. He discovered that their software architecture was incredibly sophisticated, but also remarkably conservative, with little of the creative chaos that characterized human computer development. Linguist Dr. Benjamin Clark analyzed the cultural intelligence that Shaw had gathered and built detailed models of Zephyrian society that revealed both their strengths and their critical weaknesses. Their rigid social hierarchy and respect for tradition made them powerful but also predictable in ways that human negotiators could exploit. The key to human success lay not in their individual brilliance, but in their collaborative approach to problem solving. Where Zephyrians followed established research protocols and respected academic boundaries, humans shared information freely and built upon each other's work with reckless enthusiasm. Foster coordinated the various research teams through daily video conferences that connected laboratories on every continent. The free flow of information and ideas created a synergistic effect that accelerated progress far beyond what any single team could have achieved working alone. Mendez made the first breakthrough when he realized that human superconductor technology could be adapted to create quantum field generators that were smaller and more efficient than anything the Zephyrians had developed. His team built working prototypes within 3 weeks of receiving the alien specifications. Chang discovered that combining human fuel cell technology with Zephyrian energy field principles could create power systems that were both more stable and more powerful than the alien originals. Her innovations solved several problems that had plagued Zephyrian engineers for centuries. The human teams were not afraid to fail and iterate, quickly learning from each mistake and building upon partial successes in ways that would have horrified Zephyrian researchers who preferred to perfect each step before moving to the next phase of development. Johnson created hybrid programming languages that combined the sophistication of Zephyrian software with the flexibility of human coding practices. His systems could interface with alien technology while maintaining the creative unpredictability that gave humans their strategic advantages. Clark provided cultural analysis that helped the engineering teams understand why Zephyrian technology had developed in certain directions and identify opportunities for improvement that the aliens had never considered due to their social and intellectual constraints. Captain Morrison served as liaison between the research teams and the military leadership that was beginning to understand the strategic implications of the technological revolution taking place in laboratories around the world. His first-hand experience with the aliens provided crucial context for interpreting the intelligence data. Research progressed at a pace that would have seemed impossible to outside observers as human teams worked with the kind of focused intensity that had carried their species from primitive hunters to space. Explorers in just a few millennia Foster watched in amazement as her teams began proposing improvements to alien technology that the Zephyrians had considered perfect for thousands of years. Human engineers seemed to delight in finding better ways to accomplish the same goals using completely different approaches. The breakthrough moment came when Mendez successfully tested the first human-built quantum drive in a laboratory setting. The device was smaller, lighter, and more efficient than the Zephyrian original, while being built entirely from materials and components that human industry could produce. Chang achieved similar success with her energy systems, creating power generators that could supply entire cities while occupying no more space than a traditional automobile. Her design solved energy storage problems that had limited human space exploration for decades. Within 6 months of first contact, human engineering teams had not only mastered the principles behind alien technology, but had begun developing improvements that surpassed the original designs in multiple areas, including efficiency, reliability, and ease of manufacture. Zephyrians, who had expected to maintain their technological superiority for centuries, found themselves facing a species that had not only matched their capabilities, but had begun exceeding them using creative approaches that challenged every assumption about technological development. Foster prepared comprehensive reports for world leaders explaining how the new technologies could transform human civilization while maintaining the strategic advantages that would be crucial in future encounters with alien civilizations that might not be as helpful as their first contact had proven to be. Admiral Sarah Collins stood on the bridge of the U.S. Endeavour, watching human ships equipped with quantum drives moving through space with an elegance that would have been impossible just months earlier. The newly appointed head of human space command had overseen the fastest military technological advancement in human history as Earth transformed from a single planet species to an interstellar civilization practically overnight. 6 months after first contact with the Zephyrians, human vessels appeared throughout the solar system using modified alien technology that had been improved by human engineering teams, working with the kind of collaborative intensity that had made their species successful throughout history. Endeavour itself represented the pinnacle of human achievement, combining Zephyrian quantum drive principles with human innovations in material science and system integration. The flagship had been designed and built in record time using adapted alien technology that human engineers had made smaller, faster, and more reliable than the original specifications. Dr. Vexton materialized on the observation deck of his research vessel, staring in disbelief at the display screen showing human ships moving through space with capabilities that his people had required millennia to develop. The species he had studied like laboratory specimens had somehow achieved in months what the Zephyrian Empire had needed centuries to accomplish. Commander Zolkith joined him at the viewing station, shaking his head in amazement as they watched human vessels performing maneuvers that pushed the boundaries of what their technology should have been capable of achieving. The mathematical models that had predicted human development for centuries had become completely useless almost overnight. The formal diplomatic meeting took place aboard the Endeavour in a conference room that showcased the best of human engineering and design. Admiral Collins had chosen the location deliberately to demonstrate that humanity was now ready to negotiate as equals rather than as the primitive subjects of alien research. Captain Jake Morrison attended the meeting as a special advisor, having become something of a celebrity after his first contact experience. His practical knowledge of both human and Zephyrian capabilities made him invaluable for the delicate negotiations that would determine the future relationship between the two species DR. Vex then found himself in the unprecedented position of asking humans to explain their technological processes rather than observing them from a distance. The same species he had cataloged and studied for centuries had not only matched Zephyrian technology, but had begun improving upon it in ways that challenged fundamental assumptions about engineering and physics. Lisa Rodriguez now held the title of Chief Technology Officer for the human space fleet, and her presentation to the Zephyrian delegation demonstrated improvements to their quantum drive technology that increased efficiency by 23%. While reducing manufacturing costs and complexity, the Zephyrian scientists listened with growing amazement as Rodriguez explained how human teams had identified inefficiencies in alien designs that existed for thousands of years. Their rigid adherence to traditional approaches had prevented them from seeing solutions that human engineers found obvious. Dr. Patricia Shaw served as cultural liaison, helping both sides understand the fundamental differences in their approaches to problem solving and technological development. Her analysis revealed that Zephyrian society valued stability and tradition, while human civilization thrived on change and innovation. The improvements Rodriguez presented had taken her team just 6 weeks to develop using collaborative methods. That would have been impossible within the hierarchical structure of Zephyrian research institutions. Human scientists shared information freely and built upon each other's work without regard for academic boundaries or traditional protocols. Admiral Collins explained that humanity was prepared to share their technological improvements in exchange for expanded access to Zephyrian scientific databases and cultural archives. The negotiation represented a fundamental shift in the relationship between the species, from observer and subject to equal. Partners Vex then struggled to understand how humans had achieved such rapid progress when his models indicated that their brains were smaller and less sophisticated than Zephyrian neural systems. He failed to recognize that collective intelligence could exceed individual capabilities when properly coordinated. Human delegation presented evidence that their collaborative approach to research and development had advantages that the Zephyrians had never considered. Multiple teams working on the same problems from different angles could achieve breakthroughs that might take traditional hierarchical research organizations centuries to accomplish. Commander Zalkif admitted that Zephyrian leadership was reconsidering their assumptions about technological development and the factors that determine how quickly civilizations could advance. Humanity had forced them to acknowledge that their methodical approach might not be the only path to scientific achievement. Captain Morrison watched the proceedings with satisfaction as he saw the species that had observed humanity for centuries beginning to understand that they have fundamentally misunderstood human potential. Their focus on individual intelligence and gradual progress had blinded them to the power of collaborative innovation. The Zephyrians requested detailed information about human educational systems and research methodologies, hoping to understand how a species with shorter lifespans and supposedly less advanced brains could consistently outperform their own scientists and engineers. Rodriguez demonstrated a portable quantum field generator that her team had developed using principles adapted from Zephyrian technology, but implemented with human materials and manufacturing techniques. The device was half the size of the alien equivalent, while producing twice the power output. Dr. Shaw explained that human creativity and willingness to challenge established assumptions gave them advantages that more conservative civilizations could not match. Their tendency to question authority and experiment with unconventional approaches led to innovations that would never occur to species that valued tradition above progress. The meeting concluded with agreements for technology sharing and joint research projects that would benefit both civilizations. But the underlying message was clear that humanity had evolved from subjects of observation to teachers who could contribute knowledge that even ancient alien civilizations could learn from. Admiral Collins smiled as she watched the Zephyrian delegation depart, knowing that they would return to their empire with news that would transform their understanding of intelligent civilization and the unpredictable paths that technological development could take when driven by collaborative human ingenuity. The Joint Research Station at the edge of the solar system represented everything that both species had learned about cooperation and mutual respect during the years since first contact. The massive facility combined human engineering efficiency with Zephyrian architectural elegance, creating a structure that neither civilization could have built alone. Dr. Patricia Shaw walked through the central laboratory complex where human and Zephyrian scientists worked side by side on projects that pushed the boundaries of what either species had thought possible. Her position as director of interspecies scientific exchange had evolved far beyond what anyone had imagined when the first alien ship had appeared near Mars. The Zephyrians had learned that their methodical approach to research, while thorough and reliable, lacked the innovative spark that came from human adaptability and collaborative creativity. Their scientists now worked in mixed teams that combined alien patience and precision with human enthusiasm and unconventional thinking. Human researchers had discovered the value of Zephyrian systematic methodology and long-term perspective learning, that not every problem required immediate solutions, and that some advances were worth waiting for. The collaboration had taught both species that their different approaches were complementary rather than competitive. Shaw paused at an observation window that looked out at the mixed fleet of human and Zephyrian vessels that patrolled the research station perimeter. The ships represented the ultimate fusion of technologies and philosophies that had emerged from their unlikely partnership. Admiral Jake Morrison commanded the joint fleet from his flagship that incorporated the best features of both civilizations' engineering traditions. His experience as the first human to make contact with an alien species had prepared him perfectly for the complex task of managing interspecies military cooperation. The Zephyrian vessels retained their elegant organic curves, but now incorporated human innovations in energy systems and defensive technologies that made them faster and more versatile than the traditional designs their builders had used for millennia. Human ships had adopted Zephyrian advances in material science and quantum field manipulation while maintaining the aggressive angular designs that reflected their builders' pragmatic approach to engineering and warfare. Dr. Vexton worked in a laboratory that would have been impossible to imagine during his centuries of observing humanity from a distance. His research team included human scientists whose rapid thinking and creative problem-solving had accelerated his own work in ways that amazed him daily. The project they were working on involved developing new methods for studying developing civilizations that respected the subject's autonomy while still gathering the scientific data needed for peaceful contact protocols. Their collaboration had revealed that observation without engagement provided incomplete and often misleading information. Commander Zalkif had accepted appointment as joint military liaison, recognizing that his species' rigid command structure needed to adapt to accommodate human flexibility and initiative. His reports to the Zephyrian High Council emphasized that true military effectiveness required both disciplined planning and creative adaptation. The research station had become a symbol of what was possible when different approaches to knowledge and discovery were combined rather than competing. Projects that would have taken decades using traditional methods were completed in months. Through collaborative effort, Lisa Rodriguez supervised the engineering sections where human and Zephyrian technicians worked together on developing next-generation spacecraft that incorporated innovations from both civilizations. Her team had created designs that surpassed anything either species could have achieved. Independently, the quantum drives they developed were smaller, more efficient, and more reliable than anything previously imagined, using hybrid technologies that combined the best features of both engineering traditions while eliminating the weaknesses that had limited earlier designs. Communication systems created by mixed teams could interface with any known technology and automatically adapt to new forms of alien contact. The lessons learned from human Zephyrian cooperation had prepared both species for future encounters with other civilizations. Ryan Kelly managed the communication networks that connected the research station with both Earth and the Zephyrian homeworlds. His systems had evolved into sophisticated translation and cultural interpretation tools that could help prevent the misunderstandings that had characterized early contact between the species. The station served as a training ground for diplomats and scientists from both civilizations who would eventually make contact with other alien species. The experience of working together had taught valuable lessons about the importance of approaching differences with curiosity rather than suspicion. Admiral Collins visited the station regularly to observe the joint operations and report to Earth leadership about the benefits of interspecies cooperation. Her briefings emphasized that humanity had gained far more than technology from their partnership with the Zephyrians. Relationship had evolved into something that neither species had expected when Captain Morrison first encountered the damaged alien vessel. What had begun as reluctant cooperation had grown into genuine partnership, based on mutual respect and shared goals. Shaw reflected on how the encounter had changed both civilizations in fundamental ways. The Zephyrians had learned to value innovation and creative thinking, while humans had discovered the benefits of patience and systematic methodology. The observation protocols that had once defined Zephyrian research had been replaced by engagement protocols that emphasized cooperation and mutual benefit. Both species now understood that true knowledge came from working together rather than studying each other from a distance. Captain Morrison reviewed the fleet deployment schedules, knowing that human and Zephyrian vessels would soon venture beyond the solar system to explore regions of space that neither species had visited before. Their joint missions represented the beginning of a new era of interstellar exploration. Commander Zolkif prepared his final report to the Zephyrian High Council, summarizing the lessons learned from centuries of observation followed by months of actual cooperation. His conclusions would reshape how his people approach contact with developing civilizations throughout the galaxy. He wrote that they had spent 400 years trying to predict human behavior and development, but humans had spent just 4 days figuring out how to improve Zephyrian technology. The most remarkable human trait was their ability to surprise even careful observers who thought they understood everything about them. Research Station represented hope for the future as both species prepared to explore the galaxy together. Former watchers and former subjects, now united in their quest to discover what other wonders and challenges awaited them among the stars.